Are you one of those photographers afraid of breaking away from the native ISO of your camera? Still shooting at ISO 100, 200, maybe even 400? Well, today I'm going to walk you through a project that you yourselves can do at home to begin to build confidence in shooting at those higher ISOs. I'm going to give you real-world examples of images shot at higher ISOs. I'm Mack Million, and thanks for joining me here at In the Darkroom with Mack Photos. So guys, here we are at my actual living room coffee table for this project, and what we're going to do, we're going to walk through the ISO range of our cameras. I chose to shoot with my Sony a6000 today. It is a crop sensor camera. I shoot with Sony a7R Mark II as well as my primary camera. I chose to go with a crop sensor. As we know, crop sensor cameras are more prone to noise due to being a smaller sensored camera. So anything I shoot with this a6000 definitely gives me confidence that I can well exceed with my Sony a7R Mark II. So what we're going to do, we are going to start at ISO 100. We want to set our cameras to ISO 100. I have my aperture at f4. We don't want too shallow depth of field. f4 I think would be a good range, f4 and up. You will definitely want to use a tripod or some means of stabilizing your camera for this particular project. My shutter speed at the moment is at 1/15 of a second. There again, the reason for using this little Manfrotto mini tripod. So we will make sure that our exposure value is at 0, okay? And I'll show you this on the back of the camera here. So you can see right now I have to bump the shutter speed down to 1/13 of a second because I changed the camera's position. But we'll be at 1/15 of a second, f4. Our exposure value is at 00, and our ISO at 100. So with our initial value set, we will go ahead and take the first shot. After taking the first shot, we want to go up one stop. So that would be 3 steps up in third increments from where we are. So from 1/15 of a second on our shutter speed, we're going to go to 1/30. We're going to go over to our ISO and bump that up to 200. Ensuring that our exposure value has not changed and it's still at 0. We'll take the next shot and we will proceed to do the same thing. We're going to go up one more stop on our shutter speed, go over to our ISO and go up to ISO 400. Take the next shot. And we're going to do this throughout the ISO range of this camera, which is 25,600. So we'll pull those into Capture One and take an in-depth, closer look at these images. See you over there. Okay, so here we are over in Capture One after the first portion of our project, actually shooting the images. Now we have the images imported. We have a range of images from ISO 100 all the way through ISO 25,600 in one-stop increments of increasing our ISO. A couple things we should pay close attention to would be our shadow and dark areas in the image. These will be the first areas where we'll begin to detect or notice noise that's introduced into the image as we begin to increase our ISO. So this first image is the native ISO image shot at ISO 100. Our next image here was shot at ISO 200. The difference between ISO 100 and 200, negligible. Absolutely no difference in the image here. We moved to ISO 400. Again, any difference, negligible. ISO 100, 400, the same for me. ISO 800. Okay. Slightly begin to detect some noise here in the shadow areas. If we look at the top left-hand corner here, I can begin to see some noise there. Very fine, minute noise, but noise nonetheless. There again, very usable image, very little difference between ISO 100 and ISO 800. ISO 1600. Okay, our noise has become a little more prominent in the image here. There again, still a very, very usable image. ISO 3200. There again, noise definitely more prominent. We can see noise in our shadows, even our darks. I noticed the noise in the darks. If we look at the black on the card here, I noticed the noise has become more prevalent there. Would I use this image at 3200? Absolutely, I would. And as a wedding photographer, I often shoot images in dark ambient reception halls at 3200. And again, very usable image. Oftentimes, I will do some noise reduction in post. At times, depending on the exposure itself, maybe no noise reduction is needed. ISO 6400. Okay, now we've reached the range with this particular camera where I wouldn't be comfortable shooting for weddings, publications, products, or advertising using this particular ISO range for this particular camera. Notice I say for this particular camera. If I were shooting my Sony a7R Mark II, it's quite possible that this would be a usable image with some noise reduction applied in post. If I were shooting with the Sony a7S Mark II, it's quite possible that this would be an acceptable image with no noise reduction. So there again, it really depends up on your preference and the capabilities of your camera. Okay, ISO 12800, ISO 25600, absolutely beyond the range of what would be an acceptable range for me with this particular camera. Okay, so what does all of this have to do with actual real world applications in our photography? I'm going to take us over to a shoot that I had with the model Kindlymyers, who's really a rising superstar amongst swimwear models and glamour models. Beautiful person, absolutely beautiful personality, love working with her. Anyway, we had a sunrise shoot in the Dominican Republic the end of last year. For sunrise shoots, it's a practice that I'm on the beach when it's still pitch black, it's dark out, because I love capturing the dynamic range of sunrise. Within a 20 to 30 minute period, it's amazing the variances and just how drastically the background changes in such a short period of time during sunrise shoots. So this particular image on screen right now, it was pitch black out. I actually had a LED constant light on Conley so that I could get focus for the first few images while it was still very dark out. As you can see, Beautiful image here. I'll say that these images are the raw images imported in camera. Imported directly out of the camera. Only minute exposure and color balance changes that were done here in Capture One. There's no editing or major post-production that were done on these images. So you're getting these images basically straight out of the camera raw. So first image shot at ISO 2000. There again, I will start my ISO off pretty high when it's dark out and ride the ISO down as the sun begins to rise. Next series of images, same shoot. We're at ISO 800. Next series of shots, the sun has come up more. As you can see in the image, you can actually see the sun has gotten above the horizon here. This particular series was shot at ISO 400. And we did actually end this shoot with me shooting at ISO 200. So as you can see, very real world applications. Well, I truly hope that this episode has been insightful and beneficial. Please leave your comments, like and subscribe. And until the next time, get out there, get shooting, and remember, make every shot count.